let's dive into virtual wholesaling real estate, man.
Let's do it. It's one of my favorite strategies in real estate, and I think there's going to be a lot of aha moments as we dive into virtual wholesaling.
Yeah. So we've been virtual wholesaling and virtually flipping and virtually buying and holding properties for over 12 years now. And so we love doing all types of real estate, but wholesaling is one of those things that we love doing. It's going to bring us quick capital. You don't need to be licensed to do it. And the cool thing is you can do it from anywhere. You can do it from anywhere. And throughout the years, we were just talking before this, right? We've been virtually wholesaling in different states, but there's a ton of properties we've done in California, in our own county, that we haven't seen as well, right? I mean, that's our goal at the end of the day. Whenever we're wholesaling a property, we don't even want to go to the property, right? We're trying to save our time. We're trying to be efficient. And so these principles that we've been able to use, they not only work for us, but all of our students that we've trained across the nation too.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And, virtual wholesaling, I think there's a lot of buzz around like what is virtual wholesaling and how to do it. But in reality, the way that, I define it, that we define it, it's basically you're wholesaling real estate without ever actually going to the property, right? Using technology, using software, using just the access that we now have in 2024 and beyond, right? There's so much access that real estate as an old industry has never had. And today we can leverage these tools, we can leverage teams and leverage processes to work smarter, not harder, and never actually visit properties. Whether you're wholesaling contracts, you're fixing and flipping properties, or you're buying and holding rentals. I mean, we've done it all. And a lot of the times we never go to these properties ourselves, right, as the investors, as the business owners. But of course, we have teams that go, that help us. Someone usually goes to the property, but it doesn't have to be us. It doesn't have to be you when you're virtual wholesaling.
Yeah, those good old boots on the ground. We love to leverage them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just smarter. It's a more efficient way, like Alex said. If you want to scale a wholesaling business, if you want to scale any real estate investing business, you need to be comfortable with the data, with leveraging, again, technology and access to never actually have to go to the properties yourselves. Because if you think about it, the more offers you're sending, the more properties you're pursuing at any given time, the more opportunities you're going to create and the more deals you're closing. So if you're the kind of investor who's running around town looking at properties all the time and trying to inspect every deal, especially before you submit an offer, right? You're not going to be able to offer on a lot of properties. You're going to have to be running around town and, driving and commuting through traffic all day long. And that's not how you scale a business. That's not how you do a lot of deals. So, virtual wholesaling is really a more efficient way to run your business, whether you're buying properties in your own backyard, across town, or if you're buying across the country. So I think today, I'd love to really dive into creating some aha moments for people to not only have access to markets across the country where you can make, 5, 10, 20, over $50,000 per wholesale deal without ever going or stepping foot in the property, but also just running your business smarter so that you can do more deals either locally or at a distance.
I agree with you completely. And I mean, just a little over this past month, we've done about $47,000, a little over that, virtually wholesaling in a market we haven't set foot in. We haven't looked at any of those deals in person. So we know a little bit what we're talking about. We've been doing it for a long time. But let's break down, if anyone's a beginner here, doesn't exactly know what wholesaling real estate is, let's break down what wholesaling real estate is from a high level, and then we can dive into how to do it.
Absolutely. So wholesaling real estate means different things to different people. So there are different strategies to wholesale, but at a high level, wholesaling is essentially finding and controlling opportunities to buy real estate below market value, typically distressed properties. Often you're purchasing from motivated sellers and getting attractive pricing to work for an investment model, such as a fix and flip or a buy and hold for rental income, or perhaps even for development. And you as the wholesaler are controlling these opportunities, but not necessarily executing the entire business model yourself. So you go ahead and you find a different buyer, a different investor to replace yourself on that purchase agreement. And that investor will then pay you for the rights to purchase that investment opportunity because they're looking to make a bigger profit by actually going through with the whole project from start to finish. Again, whether it's a buy, rehab, renovate the property and then sell for a margin, or maybe you're wholesaling to a developer who's going to scrape the whole house and then build some apartments. So it's essentially, finding great real estate and then flipping that real estate to another buyer for a markup, oftentimes without ever buying the property yourself. That's the assignment of contract method, which we lean into heavily and really is the number one strategy that we teach our students to do, because it doesn't require any money out of pocket, doesn't require a license to perform in most situations. And you can do it if you have mentorship. You can do it with relatively no background in real estate, like we've helped a lot of people do with full-time jobs, really doing it on the side. So, there's the assignment of contract method where you're never actually buying the property. And then there's double closing, which is an amazing strategy as well, where you're actually buying the property maybe for a few hours and then immediately reselling it to the buyer on the same day usually. And so you can line this up in a way that you actually don't have to use any of your money either. But sometimes you will have to bring the money to buy the property to closing, usually using like a transactional lender. Sometimes you can use the end buyer's funds to fund that transaction. Or if you have your own cash, obviously you can use that. But there's closing costs involved with that. There are other strategies as well, right? LLC assignments, which is a way to wholesale real estate without assigning contracts, and again, without having to buy the property. So wholesale real estate is just an amazing way for everyday people and seasoned investors to monetize the opportunities that they're creating in their market, the deals that they're seeing that maybe they don't want to buy themselves, and they want to have a way to monetize the contract to other investors. And again, it's a great way for everyday people to get in and create income through real estate without having to take on the risk of buying a property, without having to have buckets of capital to bring to the closing table, or really to get involved at all. So it's one of the reasons why we talk about wholesaling so much, because it's so accessible for the average person. And especially with virtual wholesaling, it's a way to tap into the entire nation as your marketplace. So what's more exciting than that?
No, I mean, the opportunities are endless. And, as you were talking, right, the first wholesale deals I ever put under contract, I didn't go to the property at all. I was virtually putting them under contract. And for me personally, wholesaling was the thing that got me into real estate. It was the thing that changed my life. And so I'm excited to share it today. So in a nutshell, right, virtual wholesaling real estate, it's just doing it either in your county where you're not even seeing the property, you're not physically going there, or in another state. And we have students doing this in multiple different states, right? We have students in New York doing it in Florida, people in Florida doing it in New Orleans. I mean, all over all these different states. You've one of your biggest deals, your wholesale deals, you're in California and did it in Chicago, Illinois. I love hearing about that one. And so essentially, when we're virtual wholesaling, all we're doing is we're putting a property under contract to buy at one particular price. And, these aren't retail properties. These are distressed properties that need fixing up. They're going to go all cash. They're going to go to an investor. Why not you? So we put them under contract and we sell it for a markup where potentially you can get wholesale fees of $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less. But it's it's always a win because we're getting paid on a deal that a majority of these deals we put $0 into. So it's all profit at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an amazing strategy. And especially with the access that we have today, right? We do a lot of properties that are listed on the MLS. And I love the website Redfin. I'm sure a lot of you know Redfin, Zillow, Realtor.com. Redfin's my favorite just because it's so easy to use, and I just love the user interface. But like you said, Alex, I've done deals in Illinois, Texas, Florida, Washington, Kansas, just a lot of different states, and I don't have MLS access in all of these states, right? I have relationships in these states, but I'll use Redfin, and anybody here, listening to this can just hop on Redfin today and look at great deals within a matter of moments. And that's just a very exciting opportunity. So now it's like, okay, well, we solved the leads problem. So now it's just a matter of sending quality strategic offers and knowing how to analyze a deal, getting a good price and negotiating, and then ultimately having an exit strategy, whether you're going to assign the contract to a cash buyer or you're going to double close to an end buyer, and ultimately how to put that together.
Be on the lookout for the next video in this series. And if you want to build a hyper-profitable wholesaling and flipping business, then check out my full in-depth training at realestateskills.com/watch. I'll see you there, and happy wholesaling.